Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the Maria and Friends podcast. I know it's been a minute, right? But we took a little break and we are back at it again. And I am so excited for today's show. It is going to be really good. So make sure you share, you like, you comment. We'll be reading all the comments. So let's get started. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're going to watch in the replay, make sure you type that in on the comments out and just type in replay. So let's go ahead and get started. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to Maria and Friends, the podcast where we dive deep into topics that bring us closer to our authentic selves and to each other. I'm your host, Maria, and today we have a wonderful guest who's here to talk about women, friendship, and how we can connect and have that genuine, uplifting, and genuine connection among women, right? Before
Yeah.
we jump into today's episode, I just want to share a quick disclaimer. Maria and Friends is a space where we share personal experiences, stories, and insights. We are not professional giving advice. I'm not. We're here to share what has worked for us and hopes in the hopes it might resonate with you too. So take what's helpful and leave the rest. With that said, welcome back. I'm your host, Maria, and today we have a wonderful guest that I am so excited. I met her on TikTok. Oh my God, that was such a good experience.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in just a few moments. But yes, I'm very grateful because she connected and it's been something that I know that's gonna be so powerful when two women connect and they have a purpose, and it's to help other women grow and self-develop. And she has the same desire as I do, is to help you and just to share her experience in the hopes that you might learn something. Amen. So,
Yeah.
and our guest, let me introduce her. Our guest is Smilie Filomeno Rodriguez. I call her Coach Smilie with a MSW. Smilie is a powerhouse in the empowerment world, and she brings so much joy and authenticity to everything she does. She's the founder and CEO of Smilie Empowerment LLC, a Latina life coach, motivational speaker, host of the Smilie Empowerment podcast, and content creator. So, welcome, Coach Smilie. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Oh my God. I am super excited. Actually, thank you for having me. I was sharing this with everyone because I want everyone to come out and support you as well and me in this amazing conversation that we're going to have. It's such a pleasure, Maria, for you to have invited me to your space. And I'm super excited. And tonight's topic is one that is very important and very dear to me. So I thank you.
So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Today we're going to be talking about something that as we were preparing for the show, we realized that is something that we sometimes women forget to talk about. Is we talk about husbands, we talk about kids, we talk about, so many other topics, but we forget to talk about friendship among women and how to deal with that and different things. So I have a few questions here, and the first one that I want to ask you is, let's go ahead and dive into that
Yes, let's go
subject
ahead.
about women and being friends. So my question to you is, what do you think makes a friendship between a woman truly or genuine? And are there certain qualities that stand out as very important for meaning connections among with women?
Yes, that's such a great question. You know that I'm from Puerto Rico, I'm Latina, and across the board in all cultures, women, right, empowerment and women being together is very important. And I think to make a significant friendship where it is meaningful, a few key qualities for me personally stands out. And I don't know, Maria, I would love to know for you
Yeah.
what those are. But number one is the honesty. I
Oh
think
yeah.
when you have, right, it's number one is honesty. For me, loyalty as well. That really stands out when you have a friend who's loyal, who's honest, caring is another one. Acceptance. And when I always speak about a quality of acceptance, people usually ask me, wait a minute, honesty, I get loyalty and caring. I get it. But off the back, what do you mean by acceptance? And that really is for you to embrace each other's
Correct.
unique ways and understand that we're flawed.
Oh yeah.
So to be authentic, in the relationship, for you don't have to be pretend that you're something you're not, right? And accepting of each other, it really is very important. And also there's so many, but I don't want to leave out the communication.
Yeah.
Listening, listening to understand and not so much to be defensive. And we're guilty of it.
Yeah.
Um as a social worker and life coach, I know that I'm at times struggle, even if I am a professional,
Mm.
but we have to pause and listen to have an understanding. That doesn't mean we have to agree. And I think those qualities fundamentally, there are others, but I think those fundamentally help you to have a meaningful relationship, actually across relationships and friendships, but
Yeah.
especially in women friendships. I think those are very important.
Let me ask you, how important is for a woman to have friends, to have women friends? If you
Whoa,
can talk
yes.
about and address that, because I think in my case, I believe is extremely important. But I want to hear what you think. How important is it for women to have friends, or is it okay for us that once we're married, we never have friends because we have our husband and that's all we need?
That Maria, you are hitting it. You're hitting me with these questions. I think it's very important. And as a disclaimer, I do want to say, add to your disclaimer, as
Correct.
much as I'm a professional, a mental health professional, and a life coach, I do say that what we're speaking here, you is just suggestions, right?
Correct.
There's nothing that people here have to do as we're speaking of it. How important, let me, the twofold question. So how important is it for us to have friendships, and socializing period is very important, but especially with women. And studies have shown that when we are in friendships throughout our years, as we're aging so gracefully, right, we have longevity. They did
Oh
studies
wow.
showing that when you are isolated, that kinds of buy into cuts into the quality of your life. You're less stressed. Health issues you may still have health issues as you age, but when you're social, it helps you to level out that cortisol. It helps you to bond. It gives you purpose. And for women, I think it's extremely important because we're emotional beings, right? We're nurturers by default, by creation. I believe God created us like that. And women bear, right, children. If you don't have children, it's okay. But we were built to nurture. So women to women nourishing each other, it really helps us across all of our relationships. So I'm going to give you an example. If you're out there and you have close relationships, even it's not the quantity but the quality. You may
Yeah.
have one great friend or two. Notice as how you feel, right? With
Yeah.
your friend, how you can cope through difficulties. Then when you go back home, and if you're with a partner or even if you live alone, the quality of your life is enhanced by the
Good.
quality of your friendships. So
Wow.
they're very significant. And there is scientific studies that has proven to the longevity of our life as we have companionship and friendships.
I think it's true that we are not meant to live this life alone and go through it alone.
Right.
And I believe that even though we have if you have a husband and you have, kids around, there's such thing of having women friends, somebody that you can talk to, somebody that has a different perspective, somebody that can just, hey girl, let's do this, or you got this, or different things like that. I think is very, very important. And one thing that I realized how important it was is this pandemic. When we went through the pandemic,
Absolutely.
how people started getting anxiety, how people started, their mental health was affected in some areas because they became so disconnected from their friends. And then that's when other avenues of connection became very popular, like the the TT, and all those other ones. They became
Yes.
because we were trying to connect. We were trying to find a different way to make that connection with another human being and say, I am not alone in this world. There's somebody else that feels the same way I do, that understands me, that has maybe some insight into what I'm going through that they can offer me. So that's I think that's very important for us to have other friends, other women. And like what you said, it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me ask you another question. What advice would you give somebody that says I don't want to make friends. I'm afraid I've been hurt.
Mm.
Or how do I find a friend? How where do I go? Where do I start? How like it's like dating almost. Do I just pick one and say you, or do I kind of look for something in somebody, or how do you think, what would you say to those people? I'm afraid and I don't know how. How would we address that?
That's interesting, Maria, because many of us sometimes go through this period, even in dating life as well as in the friendship. Some of us don't think of friendships as dating, but it quite frankly is. And it could be very scary for you
Yes.
if you one, if you are not one that makes friendship as a norm, meaning like you may feel a little awkward, you might be more of an introvert and it may be more challenging for you. So I would say definitely don't compare yourself to others.
Correct.
However, do your best to get back in there slowly. And
Yes.
if you've had a history of mistrust, if you've had a history of betrayal in friendships, right?
Yes.
Make sure that you don't dwell there and stay there because as I shared,
Yeah, yeah.
scientifically studies have shown that the quality of our life increases and improves with these social connections. So you
Yeah.
want to make sure that you don't stay out of the game for too long. And where can you start? Nowadays there are apps that you can also use even for friendship, and some people have used apps and it's been successful on meeting people that have commonalities.
Correct.
Um, if you are already out of school, because I know in school settings, that's why we make most of our friends, and in our 40
Yeah.
years and in college and things like that. But once you're a graduate from college, I've seen a lot of college graduates feel a little bit more sad and depressed because some of their friendships, it's not that they ended in a bad way. Some of them moved out of out of the city. They're doing their lives, and then you go into spaces like the workplace where
Yeah.
that can lend itself. But
Yeah.
there's a difference between work friendships and friendships that extend from work. So you can start in wherever you are at, start lightly.
Okay.
Be the type of person that don't say no to an invitation. Like
Yeah.
your cousin might invite you to a party and you're like, "Oh, I don't want to go alone." But guess what? In that party, you may connect with someone. I'm going
Yeah.
to give another example, very real to me and Maria.
Yeah.
Me and Maria met over TT,
Right.
right?
Isn't that exciting?
And we don't live in the same state. I'm in New York.
Yes. And I'm in Texas.
And so don't
Mm,
what I'm saying is be creative. Think
correct.
outside the box. You may connect with folks online, you may connect with someone in a party, and also go slow. Some of us, when we are reconnecting and re-engaging, your expectation could be unrealistic of
Oh
this new
yeah.
friendship. Like
Can
for
you
instance,
Yeah, can you talk about that? Because sometimes just because you're my friend, that don't mean you're gonna be in my house every day, you know?
right. Boundaries. Boundaries, my friend, are
Oh,
so important. So I believe that, and that's interesting because I just had a conversation with someone else I won't disclose, where they were saying that in their relationship with a best friendship, there was issues of boundaries. And you would think, but if we're like sisters, I can always come to your home unannounced and things like that. So you have to really set boundaries
yeah.
in your friendships and be able to, Maria, be able to distinguish the level of friendship that you have. So,
Oh,
an
wow.
example, you and I, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
just started a friendship.
Correct.
You're in a different state. We have a commonality, right?
Correct.
But the expectation has to be realistic. My
Yes.
expectation is not that every day you're going to be texting me, checking to see
Correct.
how I'm doing, and so am
Correct.
I to you. That
Yes.
doesn't mean that if it happens organically and
Correct.
naturally, accept it and welcome. However, don't have an expectation that if you meet a friend, well, I would say, and we also tend to use friend loosely. It
Yeah.
could be somebody that you just met. So that's what do they call? What is that
Acquaintance,
name for acquaintance? Which I
acquaintance.
struggle with that myself personally. I struggle
Yeah.
to say, oh, I met this is an acquaintance. We use the friend word very loosely, but
Yeah.
understand that your expectation has to be real. And if you've had, I'm going to throw in there, if you're out there and you've had betrayal of a friendship or a broken friendship or ghosted, understand that your new friendships and connections, they're not that person. So do your best not to treat them in a way in which you scare them away
Yeah.
because you sabotage the relationship based on your fear of rejection or repeating again what happened with your past friend that maybe you're no longer friends.
That's very interesting that you say that because it's that's something that you also do when you're dating. That
Yes, that's why I
when you're
said it's so
that's like, wow, that's that I didn't realize that. The same way you don't bring all this baggage and false expectations to the new relationship, the same way you don't do that with your friendships. Like, oh, I remember my friend betrayed me and my friend blah blah blah, and I'm not gonna help my friend. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just got here. Hey,
I just got
I just
here.
met you. I just got here. I don't, I ain't gonna pay somebody else's bill. So and so that's very important that even in friendships we consider that not every friend is the same way. Not every man's the same man. Not every woman's the same woman. That
Absolutely.
that there has to be. It's so interesting. It's like dating somebody. You have to have boundaries. You have to have, in a friendship. I never thought of this stuff because I don't know. I'm just realizing that I never thought that there has to be friendships. There has to be limits. There has to be clear expectations of what is acceptable, what is not. I mean, you can come to my
Absolutely.
house anytime, but give me a call. Make sure I'm not in the shower or I'm not sure I'm taking care of my husband. All those things. You're like, girl, you need to
Maria
wait
used to
outside.
be
You need to wait.
real.
You need to
Maria's
wait
keeping it
outside.
real. I'm with my husband.
Ooh, I'm taking care of business, girl. You need to wait outside. So
That's
all those
right.
things, all those things that I never thought of that you really, you have to take in consideration. And I believe that in order to be a friend, you need to show yourself a friend. Like the Bible says, in order to be a friend, you need to show yourself friendly. And sometimes there's this, and I know you have so much to share, but there's this lady that I met, and she wanted to be my friend, and I'm like, okay, I'm open to it. She was like, can we go for coffee? And I'm like, okay, and stuff. But she was so bitter and so sour,
Mm.
and our conversations. I spent time with her, and most of the time it was just complaining, and why this happened to me, and why this happened to me, and so it became such a task. When she would call, I was like, oh, I know this is gonna be
Uh,
a 30-minute phone call. And I'm like, so I finally said, you know what? I am not the person for you. I'm like,
oh,
that was my
good.
first, my first no, because I think I thought that I have to be friends with everybody. No, I don't have to be friends with everybody. I can't choose my family, but I can choose my friends. And
That's
that was
right.
one of my first no's because and she took it. That's what happens. Everybody does that to me. You're just more one person. So I'm like, I don't know. Wow, that was an eye opening for me. So what do you think of that?
Well, I commend you. I have to applaud you. No, seriously, I have to applaud you and a high five for you because it's not easy to have that conversation
Uh-huh.
where you have to, you choose to set
Yeah.
your grounds and say, something, this is not aligned with
Yeah.
me, with my values, with what I want in a friendship. And it's better to say it, let the person know. So I commend you for that. It's not always easy. That's why there are many individuals who ghost on other people to avoid the difficult conversation because it's awkward.
Oh,
Some
wow.
people even feel it doesn't merit for me to let the person know I just stopped answering the call. And listen, if we're not talking about if you're in danger, if you're in
Yeah.
a toxic relationship where you have to ghost and get out of there, I understand.
Yeah.
We're talking about relationships, right? Where it's just really not aligning. It's not something life threatening. It's
Correct.
and also you leave you that's why I commend you, Maria,
Yeah.
because when you did that, regardless of how she took it in the sense
Yes.
of being upset,
Yeah.
at least she's not left wondering what if. The brain doesn't like to be like not knowing what's going on. So when
Yeah.
someone ghosts us or just doesn't, like for instance, let's say us, we had this meeting today, this interview, and I didn't show up. I didn't give you no indication of what it is. Never again you heard from me.
Yeah.
Then your brain starts to say, okay, what happened? And then the brain has to tell you some type of stories that it could satisfy. And oftentimes we feel there was something wrong with me. I'm not a good person, things like
Yeah.
that. So I would say do your best not to ghost individuals. And that's why I commend you because you took the road that was a little
Yeah.
bit more difficult to
Yeah.
say, listen, this is not working out for me. This is not, I'm not and I like the way you said, I'm not, that you were not the right fit for her.
Correct, correct. I needed to make it about
About her.
not her. I need to make it about her because it's
Yes.
not that it's just I'm not the right fit. It's not that there's something wrong with you or something wrong with me, but sometimes I'm not. I told her I'm not the right person for you. I'm not the right fit. Yeah, it was a difficult conversation, but
Difficult.
I'm telling you, it was either do that difficult conversation or keep listening to her and just, having her, just that
Drained
uncomfortable.
you.
No, I picked the worst of that. Like, no, I'm good. So I
Good
tell
for
her,
you. Was there a period, I know you're asking me, but this is a conversation.
yeah, yeah,
Was
yeah.
there ever a time in your life, Maria, where you wouldn't have had that conversation and you would have
Oh,
bared it through?
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I don't know what, when honestly it changed when I went through the divorce and after 25 years of marriage, I was left with having to look at myself and do work on Maria and finding out what Maria likes, what she doesn't like, what she is going to accept in the second part of her life, and what
Mhm.
she's not going to accept. And to be okay with letting go people, to be okay with saying, I'm sorry, this is not working for me. This is not a path I'm taking. This is not my journey today. This is not going to, this is going to steal, this is going to affect my peace. And because I work so hard on trying to get to a place where I can go to sleep at night with a clean conscience, with my spirit in peace with God, with making peace with the people that hurt me, the people that I hurt, the people that I heard, the people that left, the people that stayed. So through all that process, I was became comfortable sitting in the no, sitting in the rejection, sitting in the uncomfortable conversations that needed to be had because there's no way I was going to do another, 25 years, the second part of my life, just accepting anything. And I think also age. There's something about when you turn 50, you don't care what
That's right.
I don't know.
Yes.
There's like a switch.
It's a
There's
switch.
like a switch. Like, I don't care what anybody says. We're not having it. No. That's why I used to laugh at old people because I would say, those old people, they just say anything. They don't care. And now that I'm getting closer to that, I'm like, oh, I'm on the other side of the tracks. I know what that means. It's like you're like
Right.
because it comes to a point in your life that you're like, you say, I'm okay with you not liking me. It's okay. My rent's still gonna get paid. I'm still gonna eat tomorrow. I'm still gonna wake up. So you not liking me, it's okay. I mean, losing you out of my life, it's okay. So all of that, all roundabout way to say I became comfortable with the uncomfortable conversations because my mental health depended on it because I did not want to lose my peace. So it's not a conversation I want to have all the time, right? Because I want friends. I need friends. But in
And
that,
it's not easy. It's not ea That's why I commend you for it, because it's not an easy thing. And one thing that I love that you are covering this topic in your podcast, I believe it's great for you to normalize, and I join you in that, normalizing speaking on this topic and understanding that as we're all aging gracefully, and hopefully, everyone is aging as the days go by, and that's good because you're here and
yeah,
we are learning. And I
yeah,
think the younger generation is good to learn from everyone's experience, but especially
yeah,
people that are more seasoned, have more years in advance. But I would say to try to help those individuals that come at, like after us, to
yeah.
understand you don't have to get to your 50s to learn these lessons,
That's
right?
right. That's
And I think
right.
that that's what's important, because as we get older, that could be a regret. Like, I wish I
Yeah,
knew this sooner. Well,
yeah,
now you have a podcast, like
yeah,
Maria's and Friends podcast, where you and I also, my podcast, Smilie Empowerment, and eh, all so many other places where you can learn these lessons and by experience, and not have to wait till you are in your upper 50s, 60s,
correct.
70s to learn the lesson. So the more we talk about it now, and we engage with everyone, and people are open to listening to understand, we don't always have to agree, I
Yeah.
would say that to the younger generation, then you can kind of like look at our experiences
Yeah.
with yours. Everybody
Yeah.
has their own, and maybe, learn a few things and not be a bit reckless with, because sometimes when you're younger, you may feel like, oh, it doesn't matter. I have more time, or that really doesn't matter because I'm young now. I want to live my life without really thinking certain things. And I get it. But
Yeah.
I think we have to be more conscious and aware of the importance of relationship and friendships and family and all of that as we are getting older. Because when you're younger, you're not really thinking of that. You're trying to find your way, you're
Yeah.
doing other things. But I think the more we bringing awareness, and this new generation, trust me, I feel that they are also very conscious of certain things and even very aware, more aware. They have more information at their fingertips. Let's
Absolutely.
use it. So I thank you that you're using this space for everyone really
Yeah.
to have a space to come forth and speak on these topics that are so important.
So let me ask you another question now. As you're talking, it brings other questions that
Yeah,
I might not
sure.
ask. But when it comes to friendships, how do you feel about considering family friends? Like, how would
Mm,
you consider? Is it okay to consider your sister your best friend? I have 5 sisters. So, and then also the second question to that is, would you like, how do you feel about when parents say, my daughter is my best friend, or my son is my best friend? I personally need to be, maybe need to be corrected in that, but I am of the thought that I'm your mother. I don't need to be your friend. I'm your mother. I'm your role model. I'm going to correct you. I'm going to love on you. I'm going to support you. But we can't be best friends. That's why I have women friends for that. Or I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because
those are that's interesting.
especially in women, like my daughter is my best friend, and I'm thinking that means you tell your daughter everything. I mean,
Mhm.
I can understand you can be close to, but I wouldn't call my daughter my best friend. I'm not gonna tell her my problems with my husband. I'm not gonna tell her when I'm going through menopause. I don't know. I don't know
Right.
what you think. I don't know what your thoughts
And that's
are.
the each I would say that's a great those are great. You shared great questions. But before I answer those questions, I noticed that I didn't answer something before, and I'm
Yes,
gonna
go ahead.
tie
Yes,
it in, which I
yes,
think you asked about how about friendships, like when it's a friendship, but then you have your husband and your
correct,
partner, how
correct.
does that work out? So just real quick on that, because I don't want to leave anything out that you've asked.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Um, I would say that make sure that you are not prioritizing your friendships over your relationship.
Great.
So that's very important. That doesn't mean that you don't have time with your friends, but just and reflect. And also you can ask your husband as well, or partner, or whoever you live with that maybe needs of your attention. Hey, lately I've been going out a lot and stuff. Is everything good? And it's good to have communication to say, listen, lately you haven't been, much
Attentive.
here. You're always out or whatever. But know to have everyone has its place, but also know your priority. Don't neglect your, because you asked specifically about a
Yeah,
partner. Just
absolutely.
don't be neglectful, because you got your ride or die, your best
Yeah,
friend, your
yeah,
everything. And
yeah,
because you do feel amazing,
yeah,
especially if you have those intimate relationship with your bestie girl, or with, with your best friend, if it's a guy, your buddy. But know that your husband, right, or partner or
yeah,
significant other is also important. So that I didn't answer that earlier. And then to the question, it was a few questions within which you were talking about best friend. Well, I'm the one that comes to mind real quick, and then let me know if there was another two questions that I might have missed. But you did say about having your your kid being your child being your best
yeah,
friend, meaning
yeah,
your son or daughter. That's mixed, right? Because one of the things that I would suggest is that regardless of what label you put in addition after your son's name or your daughter's name, right? My daughter is my best friend. Is for you to know you're a parent first,
yes,
right? That's your responsibility. So
exactly.
every parent is different. They may, you know, have I'm very careful with this because I never want anybody who's listening to, if they consider their daughter a best friend, and say, that's right, I do tell my daughter everything. Listen, that's for you and your household. If that works for you, then that works for you. However, boundaries can be crossed. And
Yes.
I've known parents that when they want to discipline, they have a struggle when their daughter or son does not see them so much as a parent figure, but as a best friend. Now I want to discipline you, or I want to let you know you don't speak to me that way. But they had a mixed message because, right, you were treating them more as a friend. Now, the friendship in parenting with the child, I'm not going to say that it's not good for you to feel like, well, my child has this trust with me. We do have in part like a friendship. So I don't what I'm saying is, without picking sides, is that you
Tread
have to see
carefully.
what works for your
Yeah.
relationship, your parent relationship. Because I've known parents that are great parents, and their daughter says, "Yeah, my mom is my best friend." And they have great relationships as adults. Um they tell each other everything, but I think you have to have boundaries.
Yes,
Um
absolutely.
so it all depends, is what I'm saying. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, Maria, your way of thinking is
Correct.
completely wrong,"
Correct.
or
Correct.
someone else's way. I think I'm strongly about the first role is a parent.
The
So
first role as a parent.
the first role is a parent. And then you also having parents sometimes having children young.
Yeah.
And like my mom would had me young, and she at one point considered me, or she still does, her best friend. And I think that she was a single mom. I was the oldest of four. So I co-raised with my
Yeah.
mom, my sisters, and
Yeah.
there were things there that she looks back that she feels that she could have done differently.
Yeah.
She leaned on me in a certain way as an adult when I was a child, and that happens across, right? Especially in the Latino culture, that
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that also stems from this, also the mix in, the daughter, friend, best friend
Yeah.
relationship, and also by need, also, because when you have a single mom and there's not another person, adult,
Yeah.
helping parenting, and you lean on your older daughter who's still a child. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of complexities there. But in general, Maria, to your point, I would say each person has to know how are they parenting their
Correct.
children and how successful they've been in their home. Because I have seen successfully parents that they consider their daughter their best friend and they have a great relationship. But
Yeah.
I think that those parents, what I've seen in those parents, they still had boundaries
Yeah.
where they were very defined to say, yes, I am your best friend and you're
Correct.
mine. However, I'm your parent first.
Okay.
So therefore, I'm a different type of best friend. I'm
Yeah.
not your best friend from next door. I'm
Correct.
still your
Correct.
mother, and you're going to respect the way you speak to me. And they
Yes.
set boundaries and they still had the
Yeah.
bond.
I
They
like
still
that.
had that bond. So to each their own, just examine, I would say reflect, look at, because some parents, they don't want to admit it, and I've had parents that have shared to me, it's hard to me admit, but now my daughter, it's like, or my son, they're not respecting me.
Yeah.
They are talking to me, and I say, well, what did you set from the
Yeah.
beginning? What was the
Correct.
messaging that you did, right? So that's
Absolutely.
what I would say. And can you refresh me on the other two questions? I don't know if it was a twofold.
No, no, no. We talked about the questions about can a sister be your best friend? Can a mom be your friend?
Oh,
Can
and
you
a
control
sister.
your
Okay.
sister?
Yes. Well, in siblings, also that can be, you can have, it's again to the relationship, the quality of the relationship, how there are sisters in families that they may have one or two sisters where they tell each other everything, right? And they feel like it's a best friend. Then you have sisters that it's really a tight sister bond, but they have a best friend outside of that role. And it kind of serves in a way to help out at times,
Yeah.
even psychologically and mentally, because let's say, for instance, you're pissed with your sister,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Now you're speaking with your best friend about, I'm so, upset. Can you guide me with this or something? So it gives you that external factor. And then I remember now the other question you asked was, can friends become family? and they can. I
Yeah.
believe, but it's all up to you, of course,
Yeah.
because I have childhood friends that are sisters to me. They're
Yeah.
not my blood sisters, but they're my chosen sisters. And it's been a beautiful journey, not a perfect one, but a quite beautiful journey. So you can select, friends can become family. And I've known even at times that their friendships have become family and have even been there more than their own family members.
Yes. Yeah. It's true.
And
It's
it
true.
happens. So you have to see what in your journey, in your dynamic, what it is. What I do say is, if you do have family and friends, always know, because I've had that too. I've counseled so many women and families where sometimes they feel like, yeah, my daughter, everything is her best friend and her family. And us, her sister, her little sister, or her sister, she barely pays attention. She doesn't help, but she runs for her friends. Her friends come first.
Yeah.
So I always say also be very, I would suggest that if you have your friendships, don't neglect your family,
Correct. Be
because
mindful.
be mindful that your family is your family. It's right. You didn't choose them, but they're your family. Now,
Yeah.
if it's toxic and if you need to have distance and space, that's all different. But we're talking about when you really know that you're not putting your best effort to spend time with your sister, to spend time, and it's not toxic and you're not at harm's way. I would say to reflect on that, because sometimes family members get jealous of
Yeah.
your friends because they're like, they see you more, they have you more than, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's something that we can reflect on.
Yeah.
But family, but friends definitely are a strong bond, and they can be very intimate, and it could be very meaningful to have those friendships. So I do, but I believe, and I have friends that became family.
Let me ask you another question. Because I had prepared all these questions, but now
I
talking
know.
to you, it's like, oh, I have another question. I have another
It's
question.
good.
And
It's
okay.
good. It's okay.
So let me ask you, and I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. How do you manage when you have two or three best friends? And can you have two or three best friends?
Oh, that's
Because
excellent question.
because let me tell you, when I was young, this is what happened was
What
what
happened?
happened was, and I'll never forget this experience. When I was younger, and I had three best friends, and to me, they were all of them were best friends. Like all three
Right.
girls were best friends
To you.
to me, right? So what happened was that I got uh, eye-opening experience because I thought, "Hello, everybody," just to say hey. It's because they're in TikTok. So what happened was that these three best friends, I thought we were all three at the same level. So when one started to tell me her problems, I was so open about it, and I told the second one, and then
Mm,
I told the first one, and then I shared the information equally to all three of them. And
okay.
I was open through all three of them. And I was just like, there was no in between. And I would tell this to the other one. And, hi, Bridget. Hi. Tati said hi earlier. And we have Bridget.
Hi,
Bridget.
Bridget.
Bridget is one of my friends. I consider Bridget. I don't know if
Hola,
she
hola,
I
Bridget.
don't know if she considered me her friend, but I consider her my friend. Anyways, I don't know
Oh,
if it's
that's a good one too.
I
When
don't know.
people
Yeah, and
consider even the best friend, somebody says, "You're my best friend," but for you, they're your friend or dear friend, but they're not your
correct.
best friend. That's another thing. But continue. You were saying?
So I was saying, so I became like open with all three of them. Just whatever she said, he said, she said, sharing open with all three, sharing the same information, no boundaries whatsoever, all three of them, until a problem arose.
Mm.
And oh, Bridget says, "Of course I do. You're amazing." Hey,
Ah.
wow. Oh, Bridget, thank you so much. I'm gonna leave that one up there for a little bit. I just
Yeah, pin that one up.
I'm gonna pin
Let's
that comment.
let's pin that one up.
So what had happened was, like I was saying, and then I started open sharing everything until one said something about another one that she was upset and misunderstood. And then I started sharing that information with everybody. Girl, I made a mess of all the
Wow.
friendships. They all became mad at me. I was a gossip. I was the
Wow.
betrayer of the one that told me her opinion. And I'm like, I thought we were all friends. I thought we were all best friends. I thought we were all sharing the same thing. I thought everybody was mutual. I thought we were open. Girl, that they all stopped talking to me. They all got mad at me.
This was
I
when, Maria?
oh, I
This
was
is in college?
15. No, no, no.
15.
15,
Oh, you were
16.
15, 16.
15,
Okay,
16.
you're
I learned this lesson
beginning.
real quick. So when that happened, I learned real quick that we can all be friends, but not everybody is a best friend. And there's different levels. And I learned the biggest lesson that if I have 4 or 5 friends, if one tells me one thing, that does not, even though we're all friends in the same circle, that does not give me the right to tell her business to everybody else. So what she tells me is hers, and what she tells me is hers, and what she tells me is hers until she gives me the permission to share it with a circle. And sometimes I've had to, and it's tough because sometimes they talk to me, and I'm like, oh my God, she don't know, and I'm like, oh my God, and I'm like, oh my God, she don't know. But it's not my place to say because nah, I learned my lesson.
Right.
So ever since then, I learned my lesson that you can have a circle of 2 or 3, but not they're your friends, but not everybody's each other's friends.
Right. So the question, that's so interesting you say that was a great lesson. And let's be
Woo!
clear, you were 15 years old.
I was 15
So
years
it
old.
took time. It took time. So, but I want to address a few things that you mentioned, if I may.
Of
So
course.
one of the and for those that are listening, because you may have in the audience, and Luz is watching. Hola, Luz. Mi amiga Luz
Hello.
is watching. I think also my husband Jose. Shout out to them. They're so supportive, and my friends that are watching, community of Smiley Empowerment. But I want to share this. Sometimes we can have multiple best friends. That can happen. However, not everyone is in agreement with that. I have met in the past friends that they were very exclusive. They were like, it's just me and you best friends, and that's it. I've been one that I've had multiple best friends at one time in past. So I think it's fine. Now, they don't have to have the relationship. So therefore, I think what happened with you, which you were still very young, so let's not judge you on that, or even
Please.
right, we're not, and there's no this is a judgment free zone. But you
Yeah.
are also very young, and still adults still do this. So even that they're not young, some people tend to not keep the information from one friend to another, and they share
Yeah.
it. So that's all about boundaries, right? That's so important, boundaries. But not everyone has to be friends, but you can still have more than one best friend. Some people say no. Some people feel that they're committed to one, and that's an exclusive thing. I've had friends even
Oh
get
my God,
upset,
you're not dating, you're being friends.
but there are people, I have to say this because I've known them
Yeah,
personally.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not one like that, but I've known people that personally they're like, you know something? I have one best friend for life, and the other people could be great and close, but I don't share that role. And then there are others that through time, they used to be like that. I have a friend who used to, and now they're open to the possibility of having other friends. I think also a best friend. And then I've had folks, now that you're talking about this, because I'm remembering people without mentioning names. I've had people too, like when I had my breakup with, I've had a few breakups with former best friends that are no longer friends. But
Which
I
is, let me
remember,
tell you something. That's a concept that I've just learned this afternoon from you. Because I never thought that friendships could have breakups, like a relationship, like a breakup from a boyfriend. I
yeah,
It didn't cross my mind to see it as
they're very real.
mourning a friendship, like going through a divorce with a friendship,
Mhm.
like going through a breakup with that. Those concepts I had not thought about it. Thank you so much for bringing light to that.
Yes, thank you for being open to that, because some people minimize that. They don't think that it's a big deal. Like I remember when I had one of the breakups, I had other individuals saying, "But listen, at least it wasn't your husband." And I'm like, it was so painful that yes, I have my husband. I know that, because they were like, "You could get another friend." And I'm like, "But it's not about that. It's the bond and the meaningful and the meaning that we gave it." So wait, I lost my train of thought. What Where we
You
were
were talking
talking
about
about.
one of the breakups that you had a while back that was very difficult. You were talking about it.
But you, to your question, because you had a question particularly, or you were talking about. You were speaking something about that, about the best friendship, but I'm thinking, what was the question that you had asked so I can
Oh, I
answer it
forgot.
in that? Because we're talking different. You know what it is that
Well,
we're
I
having
know because
different things, which is fine. This is
people think
conversation. This is a conversation. I know you had given me questions, and we're having outside of that. But
yes,
I think back to when I was when that really. Oh, I remember now. What it was is that when the breakup happened, I had other individuals that told me, you know what, Smiley, you should be done already with with the title of best friend. And this individual told me, I don't believe in titles. I don't believe in having multiple best friends or even that title. So there are individuals, and even this generation, where they're not into titles. They don't, they just say you're my friend, my close, you're a close, dear friend, but they don't use the title best friend. And when I was grieving the loss of
yeah,
my best friend, the breakup, I should say, because she didn't pass, the breakup, there was a period, Maria, where I
wow,
contemplated that. One, because I was hurting. And then I said, you know what? Maybe it's true what this person is saying. Maybe I should not have any ever be open again to giving that title to someone. And for a while, I stood there and then I noticed that that was not authentic to my heart.
correct. I
That
like that.
person, right? That person,
I
that was
like that.
authentic to their heart. But to my
Oh,
heart,
I'm gonna borrow the authentic. That's not authentic to my
authentic to
heart.
my heart. Yeah.
I like that. That phrase, I like that. Not
That's and
authentic.
it wasn't. It was not authentic to my heart. And I was adopting a concept from someone else, and then I used it to protect myself in the healing. Like, you
Yeah.
know what? I'm not going to go out there again. It's like dating. I'm not going to step out there. But long story short, I got another bet. I eventually organically I had another relationship that did flourish into a best friendship for a long time. That actually it was 7 years. And then
7 years.
it didn't then it was not a at the end a good relationship,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
we're no longer friends. So
It transitioned. It
a
transitioned.
transitioned
And
and a
you need to talk about that. We'll talk about that next.
yeah, it transitioned. But then I had a moment to say, a few years back, when that friend told me from another friend, you should be done with this best friendship. You shouldn't trust again. And then here I am. I did. And 7 years later, again, something happened. So what I mean by that is that now I'm learning it's okay. It's okay to accept that things change, that there's breakups. It's okay. Had I not trusted myself again to open my heart again to a best friend or to even the friendship at first, then
Yeah,
it
yeah.
turned into a best friend, I wouldn't have had those 7 beautiful years,
Correct,
because
correct.
there's a lot of good memories. And that I have to share with anyone out there that's going through a friendship breakup. I want
Friendship
you to
breakup.
know, take value in what you had. Take value to that. Cherish those memories. Try to focus more on what was beautiful about it and what you're going to cherish, which is hard because when you focus on what's beautiful during the time of the breakup, it makes you more sad because
Yeah,
you're missing it. But once you start healing, I have to say, for anyone who's out there, once you start healing, and sometimes you have to go to therapy, even for a
yeah.
friendship. Some people say for a friendship, and I'm like, yeah, because it's a relationship dynamic, right? And it's a loss and you grieve it.
I'm
Once you
just
move,
shocked. I just have to say, I'm shocked. I know I said it already, but that concept that you actually go up to a breakup with a friendship and you have to grieve and
yes,
that brings a lot. It makes a lot of sense now. And
yes.
counseling, you have to go to counseling too sometimes. Wow, that's
To
crazy.
take care of yourself because it's a significant loss, right? It's a lot because picture this, Maria. Let's picture this. When you have a best friend and you call that person your best friend, or even go even further, when that friend becomes a sister, right? And there's a breakup, that's very painful. And now the person that you are with this individual, it's no longer existing in that way because they're no longer in your space, in your world anymore. So let's say, for instance, if you were my best friend
Yeah.
and for 7 years, you're the person that I call, oh, I just got my first house. Look, come for the tour, do this. Oh, I just had a baby here, whatever. And now you're no longer with that person. As your life continues, you miss not sharing with your person that now no longer is your person. that takes a toll on your mental health. You can become very depressed, isolated.
Yeah.
Also, if you don't work through it, you don't have to go to therapy if you don't want to. But I say some people have become bitter, resentful.
Wow.
It's
Yes.
not just resentful and bitter from a divorce
Yeah.
or a breakup of a boyfriend, girlfriend, romantic relationship.
Yeah.
You can become bitter and sour and salty from relationships that were toxic in a friendship, and now now you're left with unprocessed feelings, and when we don't process them properly, unfortunately, it changes us. And now what happens, Maria?
Yeah.
Now you are changing up the way you are and showing up in your other relationships.
Correct. 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 Let's talk about what, if you can give me examples of what a healthy relationship is and what a toxic relationship is, because there's some friends that you just need to get rid of. They become toxicas. I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
they become like, where you been? Where you at? What do you call? Blah blah. I'm like, excuse me. That's why I'm not married. So it's just like some. What does a healthy relationship look like?
So a healthy, a
Or everybody
healthy,
has their own level of
well,
BS
over,
of BS that they can stand. Because some people have
right,
I want to be, let's be honest, some women have a higher tolerance
high
for BS
tolerance.
than others. Mine is, the older I get, the shorter
The shorter the fuse.
the shorter. We have a
And
common here.
that
We
has
have
its pros. That has its pros and its cons when we're short fused like that, because sometimes we may what I mean by that is that sometimes when we go too fast and like, oh, I'm not tolerating that. Like I've known people, and it's not even of getting, even if they're older, even this new generation, they cut you for a minute. They're like, what I mean cut is literally
yeah,
to be like, you're out.
yeah,
And they're like,
that's right.
and they don't have time to process and work through things. So sometimes you have to figure out, what is this relationship merit for us to clarify what's going on? Does it merit for us to try to work this out and figure it out? Not quickly to dead someone, as they say, because
Right, right.
right?
That's
So that's what I mean by that. So our tolerance, while we're getting older, we have less tolerant for certain things. I always suggest for myself even to pause a little bit, because sometimes you could jump the gun,
yeah,
and because you're so like, right, like a little bit like, I am wiser, but sometimes I have to slow down because
yeah,
it could get the best of me.
yeah,
And we want to be compassionate and things like that. And a healthy relationship, as you asked, and I think you have questions from the audience, but a healthy relationship is where you could be your authentic self. There's
yeah.
no manipulation. There's no love bombing, which that's another topic. I did a whole podcast on that, where
Can you
people
talk a little bit?
when
Pause
people
right there.
love bomb you at
Yeah,
the
pause that
beginning.
because I have questions. What? Because I give compliments. Does that mean I'm love
No,
bombing?
no.
Okay, so first of all, before you answer what love bombing is, Bridget was listening to us. She's on her way back to El Paso. She says, "I'm going to have to watch the replay for sure because we are driving back to El Paso and the service is in and out." But Jenna, which is one of her friends, Jenna
Yes.
Dozer and I are enjoying what we hear. Oh,
Oh,
thank you so
nice.
much, Bridget.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bridget and
so yeah,
Jenna. But
so love bombing.
before we move to that, because you did ask about if what was your question? Because
What
you
was a
asked
toxica and what was a healthy relationship and what is a toxic
tóxica,
relationship?
ay, mujeres tóxica or even
Oh,
hombres tóxico.
right.
It's toxic is when you are in a relationship where you notice that after you engage with them, you're drained.
Oh, yeah.
You're constant, and it's consistently, because from time to time it can happen, but I'm talking about consistent manipulation. Like when you have a friend who wants to know your every whereabouts, they want to control where you're going, they feel very jealous of you with other friends. That's very toxic.
Yes. I'm like,
they
oh my
they
God.
feel like you're not a
Like
good
they
friend
own
if you
you.
don't
Like they
agree with
own
them.
you.
Right. If you don't agree with them on things, then you're not a good friend. If you find that you're with a friend that when she's upset, or he, because it could be a he too, or however they identify, that once they're upset with someone, now you have to be upset with them.
Oh yeah.
This whole thing about that, I think that's a bit too much and toxic. But I've known friendships like that they're like, if you don't, I understand for someone to be supportive,
Yeah.
but I do understand that there's a level of maturity you have to have. Like if you're
Yeah.
not talking to fulana, Now I have to treat her a certain way. Now, don't get me wrong. There are friends that if somebody mistreats you, Maria, in front of me, and I don't stand for
Oh
that, that's
yeah.
different, right? Because I'm like, wait a minute, don't speak to her like that because I
Yeah.
don't, right? But I'm talking about if you had a situation with a friend of yours, independent, and you tell me, I
Yeah.
can get upset for
Yeah.
you. But if I'm in the same circle or we're also friends, don't expect me that now I'm upset at her to the point where now I'm not speaking to her. And you know what I mean? So
Well, that's how I lost those friendships because that's what happened to me, and I lost all those friendships when I was 15 in that circle.
right. So there are red flags, if you're feeling manipulated, if you're feeling that when you're around this person, it's like you can't be yourself. Also a big one, when you're in a friendship or even in a relationship, but a friendship, and you notice that when you start succeeding or when you start acquiring different things on a different path, that your friend is not supportive of you. They're jelly, they're jealous. They're like that envious of you.
Yeah.
And that is something that you have to look at because that can be very toxic. And sometimes it's done in subtle ways. And you
Yeah.
may have a tolerance for it and be like, oh, that's the way she is. I know she doesn't, she
She
means
doesn't
well.
mean it. You
She
excuse
doesn't
that
mean it.
behavior.
You have to really look at that because healthy relationships is when you can be yourself. It doesn't mean not to disagree. A healthy friendship is that you can be like, letting the person know about whatever it is that you're like, you know what, I'm calling you out on this, but do it in a respectful manner. Do it in a manner where they're like, Smiley tells me like it is, but she has a way, a time and place to do that. Don't shame your friends in front of others. Don't, right? Don't act like you're their mother because you're not. You're their best friend. That's a different
Correct.
role. And sometimes that gets confused. And sometimes one is more dominant than the other, and it's important to look at yourself. Are you being authentic? Can you be you with your best friend?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Can your friend, is it reciprocal also? Like,
Oh, remember we talked about just because I consider her my best friend, that don't mean I'm her best friend, you know.
right. And that doesn't mean
And
you don't love her.
yeah.
There could be friendships where the person really considers you with those values and morals, and it's aligned. I'm very honest with that, right? Somebody could tell me, Smilie, you're my best friend, and we could be very close. But if I'm not aligned or feel that, I'm not just gonna say, all right, you're my best friend too, because I'm your best friend. And I know it could, I don't rub it in their face
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
love them so much. They could be considered more like a sister to me, but maybe for me to, I'm very particular of those to give those titles, and it's not that the person is not good enough for me,
Correct.
not that. But if in my heart authentically I don't feel that we are reciprocal best
Yeah.
friends, then I'm not just going to tell you that because you're telling me that I am to you a best friend.
Correct, correct, correct. And then, oh, we could. I mean, this has opened up so much. You know what?
So
I
much.
thought I didn't think that talking about friendship is gonna be so deep because I'm so like you're my friend, I'm my friend, you're my friend. Okay, we're good, you know. But there's so many levels to it. I didn't realize that, for example, when you have a best friend, do you have to announce it, or does it,
Oh,
or
that's a good one
do you
too.
have to, "Hey, she's my best friend, and okay, the spots fill, so all of y'all take second place,"
Oh,
or or do you, when then I just have so many questions
that's
because
a good
now it's
one.
like like, do I have to announce it? Because that means that nobody can come and say hi because now I have a best friend and it goes to her, and I don't know about that. And you know what? And also, does how is the boundary between your husband and your best friend? Because
Girl,
does your best,
you have a lot. The questions I have,
I,
that
you know, you open up,
they're
oh,
like a
this is your
topic in
fault.
itself for one night.
Yeah,
But this
you
is great. We're hitting them. We're hitting them. And if you ever want to have me back,
yes,
I'm more
because
than
you know
happy to.
we
But
haven't
these
we
are
haven't
good.
passed our,
These are good.
we haven't passed our first question that I asked you, right? We're still in
No,
number
we
one.
are. No, you did.
I
We're
did.
up to question. Actually, you passed one. We're in two, but you haven't
Oh,
asked two yet.
girl, because you opened it, the ¿cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice eso? You
It,
opened up the box of Pandora. It's like
yes.
sentí que me abriste así my brain. I'm like, boom,
It's
boom. I'm
okay
like,
because we can definitely have the space now. And if you ever want to continue it as well,
yes, we'll
I
do a part
think that
two.
definitely, these are all my opinions, right?
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah, and
different,
experiences,
but
right?
you can have your question was about best friends. Like, can you
Correct,
have?
because
Do you have
I
to announce it?
correct.
Now,
I wanna know, look, watch,
let me.
write these questions down.
No, no, no. You
Do we
want to
have
know
to
about the announcing and about your husband, the
the
partner,
boundaries, right?
the
Does it
boundaries with the partners.
so
I would say, in reference to announcement. Now, this people that are listening to us, there could be across age groups, and they're gonna have different opinion. I would love to see what their
yeah,
take is.
yeah.
However, it depends the relationship dynamic, right? There are relationship dynamics where where both best friends are very introverted or very private, and they don't have to make an announcement. There's also an emotional and, like, maturity that they don't have to announce that we're now best friends. They just let each other know, and here and there, and that's fine. You don't have to announce it. However, I'm going to say this. However, there are friendships and best friendships where one feels, I want people to know that you're my best friend and it's important to me. And that's the meaning that they give. And then you have the other best friend who might not be as expressive. And one of them can feel, are you hiding me? Like, are you not right? Like, why are you not sharing with
This is
others
just
that
like
we're best
dating
friends?
somebody.
And
This
it's
is like
very
dating.
complex. And there are some pair of friendships or trios or more than four
Mm.
that they announce it and it's fine, and that's their personality within their dynamic. Then there are others that are very reserved. They don't need to, they know that they're each other's best friend, but they don't need to announce it. Or
They
when
don't
they're
need that, they don't
introducing,
need that validation.
right, or when they're introducing it to introducing the person. Like, there are times, like with my best friend, she lives in Florida. I could say, when I'm introducing for the first time, I may say, oftentimes I say, oh, this is so and so, my best friend, and she's done it too. But then there are times that we forget and we're just like, oh, this is Smiley. But if that's done often out of the norm, depending with who it is, it may put me to question, with this particular person, you didn't want to identify me as your best friend. Like, if the norm is that you usually do, it can
Mhm.
trigger you to feel
Are
what's
you
going on.
hiding
And it
me?
might be nothing,
Yeah.
but it's the dynamic of that relationship, what you're accustomed to. If you and me become best friends, right? And we're accustomed that wherever we go, when you introduce me, you do introduce me with the title, and that's the
Correct.
norm for years.
Correct.
If then all of a sudden after 5 years, we go into a restaurant and you bump into someone and you just say, this is Smiley, it may not be anything, but because for 5 years we have the norm,
Correct.
it will put me to say, hey,
What
I
changed?
noticed you didn't wear it. What's up? And it might just be, oh my God, Smiley, I was such in a rush, and there's nothing to it. Or it may be that there's something with that individual. So it's very complex. That's why, what's so important? Communication. That's
Yeah.
why it's important to not assume, and but to know when to pick on things, meaning like to talk about it. Sometimes between best friends, there could be something that you didn't like or whatever, but it's not a big deal, and you let it go and you keep going
Because
because
you
it's
know
not,
them. Because you
because you
know
know
them
them
well
and
enough
it's
that,
not
nah.
right. But don't put everything under the rug. I've known friendships where everything is under the rug and then explodes in your face. And then you have like,
Ooh.
yo he estado años por decirte esto. I've had years and now I'm reading you like a book. And guess what?
Remember in that
The person is like, when did you feel that? We've been best
right.
friends for 3 years. That's not fair to the person,
Yeah,
right?
it's not,
Because the
it's
person
not.
is like, after 3 years, now is you telling me that it annoys you so, or that this. So it's important to talk. And I've been there. I'm gonna full disclosure. I've been. It doesn't happen anymore. But in my earlier years, I was that type of person because I avoided making the person feel bad.
Correct.
So then I wouldn't talk about certain things.
Yeah.
And then when it got to the limit, because then I lost my limit, and now I'm like, and the person is like, you
Whoa, where did
where
that
did
come
this
from?
come from? And I had hold it because
Yeah,
I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or
correct.
I didn't want to rock the boat. So
Yeah.
what I've learned through the years and in my, and doing the type of work that I do, because I apply it to myself, I was like, wait, Smiley, just like you tell your clients and you coach or you
Yeah.
counsel, you have to understand that it's not fair to them that you haven't been saying what's upsetting, and now you just say everything in one shot and they're left like they're like
Yeah.
baffled.
Yeah. Wow,
And
that's
then with you mentioned the husband, you said that is it
oh, yeah, that's
what
because that's
what What is it that, of them being friendly with your best friend? You're saying
My
for them to
question is
have
what my
mm,
question is because I have a lot of questions. Now I have a lot of questions. Now it's
go
like, oh
ahead.
my God. Because I have a question. So can just because she's my friend, my best friend, that
Okay.
don't mean she has access to my husband. That don't mean she can that I know what's a boundary situation
There
because I
has to
know
be boundaries there. There
because
has
I don't want to like we talked off camera. I don't want that
right,
situation to happen again
right.
where 2 years later,
There's boundaries definitely that you have to both of you have to set, but it
do I set him or does my husband? No, I don't have a husband, but it
it should be both. First of all, it should start from your boundary, but
correct,
also
right?
your boundary, and then your husband has to have boundaries too. You see what
Yeah.
I mean? Like for instance, I'll be transparent. My best friend and my husband, they know each other. Actually, he met her first through the
Okay.
years. Um, However, they have each other's number, and I have her boyfriend's number,
Okay.
and we've spoken. I've text when there's something particular or whatever. However, there's boundaries to that.
Correct.
So I am not texting at every sorts of the night. I'm not sending inappropriate pictures. I'm not. Do you see what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
have to have boundaries. I feel my husband is very friendly because he's a friendly person. But even if it's not a best friend, even just with my female friends, he has boundaries, right?
Mhm.
There's certain things like if I have trust, I trust him and I trust them in the sense that there's nothing, no indication that should
Correct.
share. There's no indication that I feel like what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because
Like if you walk out of the room, you're okay. Like
I'm
you walk out
okay
you
because
walk out of
there's
the room.
nothing that has been yet flagged.
Correct.
Because let's be honest, and I'm gonna rock the boat a little bit. You
Woo!
know that there could be friendships that your friend, your girlfriend, your friend, your bestie could be a little flirtatious,
Oh,
and
she's
there
yeah,
could
I
be
have a couple, yeah.
times that you don't call her out on it because you're like, "Oh, it's okay,"
Yeah.
but you don't like the way she's, como decimos en Puerto Rico, manoseando a
I
tu
know. Oh,
esposo, like,
yeah, I know.
like,
Wow.
too, like, leaning in and stuff
Sí,
like that, inappropriate, and that happens.
yeah, sí
So
pasa.
it's up to you to
Sí.
say, "Hey, listen, I noticed and this I don't like it," and then the first time, okay, what self-correct. If
Yeah.
that person still can't self-correct, then there's a problem.
Yeah.
And then your husband also, or your partner, significant other, should also have his or her own boundaries of
Correct.
herself too. That listen,
Correct.
she walked out of the room. This person is being a little flirtatious. You know what? I'm walking out of the room too, honey. And you
Yeah.
leave the person in the living
Yeah.
room. You
Exactly.
get out of that situation.
Yeah.
So that's very important. But the boundary starts with each individual and you, as you know, in your friendship, because there are friends sometimes that cross the boundary. They
They do.
test waters. It's known.
Yeah.
We might get people that may talk to you about that are like, oh my God, yes, my best friend was with my husband or vice
Yeah.
versa, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important to set those boundaries. But I also think, Maria, us as
Like,
women,
we also have to pick good
there's
friends.
red flags.
Let's
Yes,
let
pick good
let let's
friend.
pick good friends. Like, if we're complaining that mi esposa se lo this and that or whatever, let's start by picking better friends. Let's like you said earlier, it's the quality of friends that instead of the
Right,
quantity, and that
right.
I mean, we need to pick better friends. Let's start there.
But even with better friends in life, things sometimes go wrong.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm being very honest with you.
Right.
And we don't have all the answers, by the way. These are
No.
scenarios. There's
Yeah.
people with so many different scenarios and twists
Yes.
and turn in their life. But we're talking a little bit, just giving a overall sense. But
Yeah.
sometimes friendships, depending if the boundaries were not set strongly, and if you how can I, because it's not an excuse, but there are friendships I've known of people that have betrayed
Yeah.
the friend due to many different factors, but I also think that the boundaries were not set good from the beginning. Like for instance,
Correct.
I'm gonna give
Correct.
an instance. If I'm in at a party with my husband and stuff, and my friend is dancing like apretado and whatever,
Sí.
if I allow that, what and I've known friendships that they do allow that they're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
no,
they're
you
just
know.
dancing, it's fine." No,
No,
I
no,
have
no,
I've known
no,
people
no,
that
yeah.
they say there's
No.
nothing wrong with that. So It
Nothing wrong right
starts
now. Nothing wrong right
it
now, but
starts
no.
somewhere. Do you follow
Yay.
what I'm saying? But we
Mhm.
have to look at also what is our the boundaries
Correct.
and also the partner, because some people can call us out for it and they'll be like, but what about the man? How about him, the husband? What was he? So I think it's all parties. But
Yeah.
I think in friendships, there's a remember what we said at the top of the podcast, a strong quality for me is
Yes.
honesty and loyalty. And
Correct.
that comes with that, right? Where you're like, you know what? I'm not gonna cross the line here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna remove myself from this situation. And that we could talk about other stuff because that gets very complex. Because then it's like, do I tell my friend that her husband hit on me? And
Oh,
it's
yes.
just
Yes,
it's
we need
so
to talk
many.
about that. We need to do a part 2 because this is where I wanna know, can you have male friends? I wanna know, do you tell the girl that he hit on you? Do you tell that you saw him with another one? Do you know when it
Ooh,
comes to
that's
when it
a
comes to different things, she's your friend and she's cheating on her husband, but you know he's a good man and a good, good provider. So do you betray your friend in order to save her marriage, or do you stay out of it
well,
and then
you can't save no one's
no.
marriage.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you
That's
see how you the thought would be that if
yeah,
I say, but there's no such thing as that.
yeah.
You can't
But also,
save
but
another person's marriage. But I understand what you're saying. Like, you're like, should I tell them so then they can fix, so they can work on their relationship?
yeah, yeah.
But that's very delicate because I've also known friends. I've had so much. I've known people that when they're told, like, let's say the friend says, I saw your husband, whatever, all of a sudden they're upset with the husband for a little bit. Then the husband and them make up, and now
Yes,
she doesn't talk to her friend.
yes, yes. It's true. Happens all the time. You kill the messenger. I'm like, I was just
Right.
telling you.
And that's why oftentimes it's just sometimes it's best to keep out you know, of that. But people sometimes question, but what's the loyalty of the friendship
If you
if
don't,
you know this and you don't? So
but
it's a
because
very
I've seen
delicate matter. It is very
it's because
delicate.
what I've seen is that sometimes the you as a friend tell your friend, hey, you know what, he's cheating on you, and then like you say, it's confronted, it's on the open. They make up, they make it work, they forgive each other, but then the husband says, I don't want you to be near her
Right.
again. So
I get
that cuts the friendship. So when you risk, you have to be okay that if you tell the person, like as a matter of fact, my son had this same issue. That's why I know about it. And I told my son, because he said, I want to tell him, I want to tell him, I want to tell him. I said, if you tell him, you need to go into that conversation with the thought that you're going to lose that friendship. If you're okay with losing that friendship, tell him. If you are not okay, then don't say anything.
right. Because there is a possibility, and things between romantic relationship can be very complex. There's so much to it, to the relationship dynamic. So it is risky. It's a risky thing to do, and there's also a risk to it even if you don't do it also, because there are times where people feel, well, you didn't tell me and you knew, you betrayed me, you as well, because you didn't tell me and you knew. So for
Well,
some people, it all depends, that I think, the situation and that friendship, how it is, because someone can talk themselves through that and say, well, listen, I didn't share with you because so, and then the person can be understanding, even if they're upset for a little bit, but it's okay. Then
yeah.
there are other friendships that they're like, you know what, you're not a friend. So I don't want a part of you because how dare you not tell me this?
And
So
that's me. That just so all my friends that are listening, all my friends that are listening, it is recorded on video today. That if you ever see my better half or my boo or whatever, I'm single right now. But if you ever see
your
him,
future
my
boo.
future boo, my future, if you ever seen him doing nonsense, you need to come and tell me that, because you need to come and tell a girl. You tell me, I'm okay with it.
That's right. That's right. Oh, and I think it's expected in friendships.
Bridget has let's see. Bridget has a comment. She says, "It depends on the strength and maturity
That's right.
of the friendship."
Absolutely, Bridget. It does depend on the strength and maturity, because there's different maturity levels and different emotional intelligence. And there are friendships that the friendship within, they're not as mature. and they can handle this very differently. And then there are friendships that they're more mature and they can have an open dialogue and work through it and understand whatever the decision was. And then you
Bridget
have
says,
what
Bridget
do you
says, I got you, Maria. So in other words, she's
oh,
gonna tell me,
she got you,
woo,
Maria, she got you.
she
You
got
already
me, she
got
got
her.
me.
You already got her. But it's so, you know what it is, human beings were very complex and relationships are very complex. So as much as, you could be in therapy, you could have a counsel, you could be with your pastor, it could be with someone you trust, which I always say, seek help if you need professional help, and there's no shame to that. But
Absolutely.
understand that at the end of the day, these individuals, professionals, friends, they can help you to process some of this, but you have to make your own decisions. You have to make peace with whatever decision you make, and understand that no one can save your marriage or save your relationship. That's something that it's you and that other person have to work out. But I would say make sure that you are you are able to live with whatever decision and the consequence of whatever decision you make, whether you're going to tell your friend or whether you're not. There's going to be consequences to either one.
So let me ask you, this is so many questions. So, can you have a male friend as a woman? Can you
Oh,
have a
yeah.
male friend?
I am of
Or can a guy have a female friend?
Yes, I am
Like a
going to
genuine
genuine. I like
amistad.
the way you said genuine like 4 times. Genuine, genuine,
Like,
genuine.
en
En
serio, like
serio, en serio, en serio. Me encanta, me encanta, me encanta, me encanta. This is preference as well, right? This is a preference. So you can. So the answer is you can. Now, is it people's preference? No, it depends on each individual, right? I have male friends, right? But that my husband also know, but that they're more my friend, but he's okay with that because it's open. What I mean open is that I let my husband know, listen,
yeah,
this is so and so, we met at work. Then I even introduce them. There's a moment on the phone, on whatever. It's not that it's a hidden thing. That's what I mean. It's not like it's a hidden thing. There's a hidden phone, there's a hidden text message. None
yeah,
of that is hidden.
yeah.
Myself and my husband, and this is we both share. He has the password to my phone and I have for his, and it's not from a place of jealousy. It's from a place of, if something happens and we need to, or a quick thing, and I'm like, oh, toma el teléfono here, llama así that's how it's worked for us.
Yeah.
But it's not from a place of like I need it, and I don't even check it. I've never been, let me see, and I've never seen him checking my phone. As a matter of fact, he gives it to me. But whenever I say, no, baby, you know the code, chequea, and llámame así, because I'm busy doing something, then he does it. But it's not that he's in my phone and that's why he has
Yeah.
the passcode. So you just have to see your level, but you can have friendships, either gender or however identify. Yes, you can. I think you can. However, do you do good with that? Like, are you a person that if you're a girl and you have a guy friend, are there boundaries in place? Are there things that your significant other feels jealous because you don't, right, like when you're with your best friend you don't pick up the phone, or you're secretive about where you're going and think
Yeah.
that's where things get like what's going on. But you can have a friendship. Now for some men, they say sometimes having a female friend, they can cross the boundaries, because I'm not talking about with benefits, what they call
Yeah. Yeah.
platonic.
Yeah.
I have platonic friends that has nothing to do with any sexual tension. There's nothing. I see them like a brother. I don't have an issue, but I'm very clear on that. But
Yeah.
when your
Absolutely.
feelings are, and when
Yeah.
someone you feel
Absolutely.
like, I feel a little bit
That
attracted
hug,
to this
you know
person,
what? That hug was lingered a little
a
bit.
little
Yeah,
lingered, a
that hug
little lingered.
lingered a little bit.
Actually, my husband and I, we met in college, and my husband and I, we started out as friends, platonic friends. And guess what? As I started liking him and stuff, those hugs were lingering a little longer from my part, actually. And if he was watching, he should be laughing. And the hug, but I didn't have someone else. It was
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But what happens is you have to be careful with that, right? But I think, to the question, can you? Yes, you can. Is it your preference? It may not be. And re- there are couples that tell me, no, we have a rule. He doesn't have female friends. I don't have, and that's our rule in our relationship established. And that's the way they function themselves.
Yeah.
And I can't judge that. I'm like, that works for you. That's fine. Right. And there are people that look at my relationship with my husband where I have female friends. Now, can he have female friends? Yes. But like I said, si hacen todo con respeto, if I
Exactly.
take part in that, I know the person.
Yeah.
There are times that you invite me to go out, all of us together. I know, and there's nothing fishy. Come on.
Yes. Yeah.
When
Oh,
you can
yeah.
feel, you sense, you have
Mhm.
that sense. Sometimes you want to ignore that because you don't want to face it, but you have that sense where you're like, there's a little flirtate,
Yeah.
something's going on here, or at least they're crossing boundaries if nothing has happened. So you have to know what you can tolerate. Also, are you a jealous person?
Yeah.
I per se, everybody can be jealous, or it's part of our human nature. But there are
Correct.
some of us that's that's too right, where it's too possessive, too involved. So some of those relationships, they won't tolerate you being friends with their husband when you're a female, or vice versa, because they're possessive.
Yeah.
So there are other unhealthy traits and qualities in the relationship that doesn't lend itself to open up to the opposite sex. So that's, you have to look at your relationship, what works for you.
What and we'll continue. We have to do a part 2 because this is so much
Part
to
two. Oh, that'd be
to
cool. A part
that
two.
yes, because this is so much to unpack. But tell me what is your favorite part of having best friends?
Oh,
What is
that's
your favorite?
such a
Because we've
cool
talked a lot about the negative part.
question.
We've talked a lot about the negatives and the, red flags and this like that. But I want you to speak and tell me it's worth it. Tell me that's worth it to have. Tell me what
Oh,
you love about having women best friends and women friends and
and
the different levels, the
sister
different.
friend. Yeah, there are different levels too. Wow, when you said that, it brought such a tender moment for me right now, because I immediately, when you said that, I thought of my best friend. So shout out to my bestie girl. Um, and I smile. And then there are other sister friends that I have, very close friends that I
I like
consider
that. I
sister
like that. Sister friends.
sister
Yeah.
friends also, and they're amazing. And see, I lit up because it's so comforting to have a best friend, or friend that you consider in your inner circle, that they have your back for hard times, for difficult times, for having fun. I know when my bestie comes into town, because she lives in Florida, or when I go to Florida, we have so much fun. We can be spontaneous, we can laugh, we can sit and be quiet, and we're still having a good time just with the energy sharing. Meaning she's right next to me with her energy
Yeah.
and my energy, and we're vibing, and it feels
Yes, right?
so secure and it feels so good. Um, it's amazing when you can have open communication, when you get through tough moments of
Yeah.
the friendship, where you tell each other something uncomfortable about the friendship, not just. So I would recommend this to folks. It's not easy to do, and it doesn't have to be just your best friend. It could be any friend, where you get to, from time to time, evaluate where the friendship is
Yeah.
at and say, hey, you know something? I've been thinking about our friendship and our sisterhood or our bond. And I want to ask you, what do you like about me and in the friendship? And also talk about that, and then say, okay, now that we got that, always start with the positive.
Yes.
Now that we said that, is there any area in our friendship from me that I'm not providing from you? What do you need from me at this
I
time? Because
never
every
I
season
never
is
thought
different.
about doing that. I never thought about
Yes,
doing
and
that.
I've done that with my friends. And let me tell you, sometimes what the feedback you get back sometimes could be feedback that you wasn't aware of, things that you're like, "Oh, whoa, okay. Smiley, lately you've been neglecting me a bit." And it's not possessive. It really
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
genuine, like to say, I've called you a few times, I reached out to you a few times, and I'm going through a few things, and I have. So it's not intentional from my part. And
Correct.
I'm giving you a live example where this person told me that, and I had to step back and analyze and be like, you know what? You're quite right. But let me let you know what's been going on with me. Da, 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 all these things. Now, can we find a way where we can agree? I might not be able to give you at
Yeah.
this moment all the attention that you require.
Yeah,
And I'm
absolutely.
being honest because I'm stretched thin, but you're important to me and I'm going to make more time for you. You
And you
see?
have this
But
conversation.
I didn't say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'm going to now be completely open," cuz I had to say, "Listen, where I'm at right now, I have a lot of things that are priority, and it's not that you're not a priority, but there are things that have deadlines and I get exhausted. I also have my husband, and she was able to say, I get it. Now I understand that it's not that you have forgotten me or whatever, because she was in her feelings, but we worked it out. And then vice versa. Then it was my turn to say whatever. If there are times in those conversations where we're like, we're good, girl. We're good. Cause these are like twice a year. Maybe you can have
Oh,
this check
okay.
in where you're like, hey, are we good? What do you need from me? Because us as friends from time to time, Maria, we need different things. There could be a season in my life that let's say you and I that were starting this friendship, there could be a season where I need you more to tell me. Like, for instance, you were talking to me about the lighting and you already sent me something. That was so nice. You didn't gatekeep. So there could be a season of my life that I don't need those tips. And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, okay, or there could be a season where I'm giving this example. It's very
Correct.
simple. There could be a time in my life where I need more tips in that
Yeah,
area. And then I don't know if you can always be available for me. I don't know if you're always going to be available to share whatever those tips are. So that's why we got to check in and then see, can I give you at this moment what you need? Or
yeah.
can we have an agreement that it might not be completely the way you want me to show up for you,
Correct, correct.
but I'm going to do the best and I'm going to let you know why I may not be able to be there for you the way you would like. But when we don't have these conversations, then what happens is resentment. Like if my friend had not shared with me at that time that I was making this transition of quitting my job and doing my business, when I did that transition and we're going into a year now, a few of my friends, I was a little MIA because I had so much to work out. So while they knew that, they still felt neglected at the moment. Not that I was a bad friend, but so they let me know because I opened the space to say, whenever you feel so, let's talk about it. So,
Wow, I'm like, I am sitting here. I need to start. There's a lot of people I need to call. How are we doing? Doing that. I'm gonna start doing that honestly because
and it's
I
vice versa. They also let you give a time. You start with let me just give this start with the positive.
okay,
Like,
start with
what
a
do you
positive.
like? So you say, hey, what do you like about me in the relationship? What do you like? Don't you
What's
label it.
working? Yeah, what's
Yeah,
working?
what's
What
working? What do you like about me in the
mhm.
relationship? What makes you be why am I your best friend or your close friend? Oh, Maria, because I love it. You're always there for me. All that. Okay, now that we got that, then maybe you share what is for them. Now you say, now that we've said that, is there any area that you feel that you would like more of me, or how do you need me at this time, or is there
Yeah.
something I'm
How
not?
do you need you come up with some really good I need to start right now, but because how do you I like that. You come up with really good
And
friends.
that doesn't mean though. Let me
Oh,
clarify.
Bridget has a comment. Hold on. Listen. Open communication and honesty is so
It's so
important.
important. Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean, Maria, when we say, how do you need me at this time in the relationship? That doesn't mean you can provide it. Because you have to be careful, especially people that are people pleaser. If somebody says, well, I need for you to, for instance, somebody could say, well, I need, Maria, that if I tell you I'm going to a doctor's appointment or I'm having trouble with something, I need for you to follow up. Because sometimes in friendships, in one side, some friends, you tell them, some distressful thing and they never ask you again anything. But yet when it's
What?
their turn, they're always about
Ooh, yeah.
so then you don't feel supported. So then but you also have to understand, can you have the capacity at this moment? So when you say, what do you need from me in the relationship at this season that you're in, it doesn't mean that everything you tell me, I'm going to be able to fulfill it. But at least we can talk about it. And I can tell you, well, for instance, if somebody says, I would love for you to come to all my doctor's appointments, I have a lot of or I would love for you to go shopping with me for the christening of the baby, and you're closing on your house
I'm
and it
like,
falls on that day, you can say, listen, while that's something you need, I'm going to say at this moment, I can't provide that for you. Maybe what I could do is send me pictures of what you selected of the christening. And maybe in a text video thing, like text, I can see and be a part of that. But I literally can't go with you to shopping into the store. So you see, you look for a way because you may not be able to fulfill everything for someone. Like, not maybe, we can't. But when we don't talk about it, people walk away feeling neglected and
Bridget said,
not
"I love that."
understanding.
I'm sorry. Bridget said, "I love that question." Writing it down. You see, Coach?
Writing it down, Bridget. Ah,
Yeah.
she's writing down Coach Smiley's tips. And listen, this doesn't work for everybody. It could backfire. You can open dialogue, Maria, with your friends now, right? You go down your list. And I tell people, I've done it in the podcast and I've done it in the live. I've actually taught how to do this. You make your list and take inventory of your friendships, especially coming into the new year.
I
Make an
wanna do
inventory
that.
of the people in your life, and then you kind of go through the list and put the things that you love about them, and then the things
I'm gonna
that
do that.
maybe you wish they had different. And then when you
Wow.
speak to them, say, okay, let's talk about our friendship. Where are we in our journey? What can I do to help you more? Is there something I'm not doing? And then vice versa. And you will discover that there might be things. Now be careful, because some
I was
people
gonna say,
are
wait,
sensitive.
what if they start what if I don't like what they're wait, wait,
Well,
wait.
that's
What
where
if I'm not ready? I'm not ready for what
you
they're gonna
have to,
tell
that's
me.
it. You have to be ready for that, because not everything, like when my friend
Mm.
told me, Smiley, I feel neglected by you. I felt, I when I first heard it, because I'm not a neglectful person. Intentionally, I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
However, when we processed, I was able to say, oh, wait a minute. I see lately I've been MIA because of da. And that doesn't justify exactly. It's more like saying also to your friends, having better communication. Listen, I'm going through something for the next few weeks. I'm going to be MIA, and just letting people know I'm not going to be as available, but I wish you the best in what you're
Yeah,
doing, but I'm not as available. But we don't tend to do that. We don't say anything. And then friends feel some type of way, especially if
yeah,
you're close, if you're very close and you're used to that, that's your person.
yeah.
So, but you have to be ready for the feedback, because not everything is peaches and cream. And I think when you have,
That's right there. Be get ready for the feedback because
and some people are not ready for the feedback, and that you can, that inventory, you could do it with all of your relationships. You can, whether they're your mother daughter, your kid son relationship, any relationship, you can do an inventory to check where are we right now, and what, and also for you, are they satisfying your needs? And what I mean is, in the friendship, it's not that they're going to fix you, it's not that you got to be codependent, it's none of that. It's more about the healthy relationship. Is it reciprocal? That's how you notice, because there's many friendships where they're one-sided and one person is carrying the relationship,
yes,
and that's
right?
not fair.
Mm.
And we got to, you got to talk
Yeah,
about
you
that.
gotta fix that. You got if you wanna keep the friendship, you gotta fix that. Or you can decide, "This is not I'm not the right person for you in this friendship."
Right. And that's a tough decision, but it's one that can be, very freeing also. Because sometimes we're in friendships or in relationships that they're no longer, right, what we is not aligned with us, right? Or with them as well. And we're hurting in the relationship because we're dragging it out.
Yeah,
And
that's
you feel right. And it's just so hurtful. But it's important to have those conversations. And while I'm speaking like this and it sounds so easy, it's not.
yeah.
Because even myself, I've done things not properly where I should have, because my feelings got in the way, or
Oh,
fear,
yeah.
or you may have fear of rejection, or you don't want to. Also, your personality, you mean a person that you're not confrontational and you
Oh,
don't like
yeah.
stuff to, right? So you might be a people pleaser, have abandonment
Oh,
issues,
yeah.
wounds issues. So you really have to work it out. And if anybody's in therapy right now with your own therapist and you're hearing my tips, always, especially if you are in therapy, talk with your therapist. I saw this podcast, they were mentioning this, and just don't do what we're saying. It's more like process and reflect for
Correct,
yourself,
correct.
because some of the tips I gave you can help, and in your situation they may not, some of the
It
tips may
depends,
not be
yeah.
the ones that you would need. But always, I say, therapy is a great way to process feelings,
Yeah,
whether that's about a family therapist, marital, going to therapy to discuss a friendship breakup, because those are feelings. They're very important. Don't minimize your feelings. Your feelings are very valid across all relationships. And many times we minimize friendships. We're like, oh, no está hablando con la amiga. Ay, que eso está bien.
Yeah,
Okay.
sí,
But I would say no, because they're meaningful to you. It's the meaning you give it. If you value friendship, then it's meaningful. There are other people that they don't put a lot of value
yeah,
to friendships. And then if it works for you, then okay. As long as you're happy and you're not intentionally hurting anyone, because
correct.
hurt people, as they say.
Right,
The
right.
more you work on yourself, the better you can have your relationships and understand that no one's perfect. We're
Yeah.
all in this journey. I'm a life learner, and most of
Yeah,
us,
aren't we? That's what I say. I'm a student for life.
as student, we're learning. Like today, we've been talking, and I
Yeah,
feel even as I'm reviewing this, because I don't know it all, I'm even reviewing some of my friendships. Even
yeah,
as I'm sitting here, there's still we're work in progress.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
it's beautiful to have those friendships that you
Yeah,
can lean on, that you can share. It's different than your partners. It's
yeah.
a different level of friendship. It's sweet. It can and you can be who you want to be with your friend. Like that's the best friends where you can just be yourself,
Right?
including your flaws. And they're like, it's they call you out when they need to, they tell you,
Oh,
but at
yeah,
the same time, sometimes they let you rock because it's not harming them, and it's like, okay, Smiley's like this or my bestie is like this, and it's okay. Sometimes you could be not a person too
yeah.
chatty, and it's okay. So it's a beautiful thing. I hope that everyone takes
This is
good lessons from this and
I
forget to
suggest it.
reflect. It gives you, and also you can bring these topics as you're looking at the
Yeah.
video.
Yes.
This can open the door. You can send it to your bestie, you could send it to a friend, and it can open the door for you to be engaged and speak with other friends about some of, because Maria, we spoke, there was a lot of questions that you had, which I love. But I find that within
Mm,
this podcast, there's so many topics there
so
that
many layers, yeah.
you can reflect for yourself with your friendships.
All right.
Bridget is saying,
Bridget says, "Amen. Someone who loves you, flaws and all."
yes,
Yeah,
I
so
love that.
Coach Smiley, I want to close. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's talk about a second part to continue the conversation about women and friendship and bring some more light to this topic. One of the things that let me end with is that one of the things that I like most about having friendship is having a witness to my life.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, you
That
just me up. You tuned
uh
me up with that. Have a
that when I'm
witness
gone,
to
there's
your life.
witness that I lived. There's witnesses that know that I was here.
Oh,
So
that is
that
the cerraste con algo. Wow. Look, I got goosebumps. Love to have a witness to your life.
yeah, that's really meaningful to me. That's why I like friendships. That's why cuz I want to have a witness to my life. Somebody that witnessed the good moments, somebody that has witnessed God, we're getting emotional
Yeah, emotional. It's an emotion. Yeah.
because I it's friendships. I think of all my friendships and I think they're a witness of my good times. They're a witness of my bad times. They are witnesses when I got the win and they celebrate it with me. They're witness when I got the promotion, when I got the yes, when I got the no, and they walk me through it. And they're a witness that Maria was here on earth and she lived and she was amazing.
She lived.
All right. Woo! So thank you so
Love
much.
it.
So everybody, make sure you click, like, you share, you comment. We're gonna Coach Smiley and I will read everything. We'll comment as much as possible. We'll continue the conversation.
Yes, definitely.
So Coach Smiley, don't leave. I'm gonna go ahead and close out. But thank you so much, everyone, for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And until next time, God bless you guys.
Is she there? Hello. I think I got a cold.